YouTube. So I know I'm extremely late, but I'm here to do the review for the Haves and Have Nots, Season 4, Episode 15, titled The Apple Tree. Now, I'm going to try to get this out before the new episode comes on tonight, and my goal is to record tonight the new review. Okay, so anyway, so the episode starts off where it left off last week with Catherine, and she just received the news that Wyatt is quote unquote dead. As you all know, I don't believe that he's dead, but we shall see. Okay, so Hannah is there to console her, and Catherine is just like her emotions are all over the place. Then she puts Hannah in a tough position because she said, Hannah, I mean, when you went off on Jim at the hospital or in jail and you told Jim, like, even if you covered up what your son did and the murder and putting my son in the hospital, that's still not going to save him. And basically, you reap what you sow. So now Catherine basically wants Hannah to tell her, like, this is our fault, isn't it? We shouldn't have done all of this. We shouldn't have tried to protect him. Like, we sow bad seeds, so now we're reaping it. And Hannah is like, look, like, you just lost your child. I'm not going to talk to you about this. Like, let's just let it go. But Catherine kept pushing it, and then eventually Hannah was like, well, basically you reap what you sow. I'm not saying that is the reason this happened, because life just happens. But whatever the case, Catherine then finally says, hey, I really don't like Jim right now. I really can't stand him, but he needs to know what happened to his son. Can you please go tell him? You said you'd be there to support me. Hannah's like, no, I went off on this man a million times. Like, I can't go tell him his son has died and he can't stand me. He hates me. No. She said, please, 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 I really need you to do it. And there's nobody else. And so, of course, Hannah always gives in. So that is her mission in this episode. Okay, so now War. Creepy old War. Although he used to be cute, but now he's creepy. So we all know that he just basically walks through walls at Candace's house and ends up wherever she is in her house mysteriously. Like, he must legit have a key to every door now. But whatever the case, Candace is laying in the bed, and then War comes up behind her, like, all like sexual and stuff, like he's gonna take advantage of her, which I'm getting really tired of seeing her in this like weak damsel in distress position. But whatever the case, he is basically warning her, like, today is the day of your 48 hours that I gave you. I need to have my $2 million by 5 o'clock today. And then she said, whoa, what do you mean 5 o'clock? I thought I had till midnight. He said, I'm not stupid. The bank closes at 5. This is where you're getting the money from. I want it, and I want it in cash. Now, we all know that, like, banks don't just have $2 million sitting in there. Like, how in the world are you going to get it in cash? Whatever the case, Candace is like, I can't do it. He's like, you need to make it happen. So, of course, she's like, okay, I'll figure it out, because she doesn't want Benny to die, because his goal is, well, his end game is, if I don't have my $2 million in cash, and you better not tell anybody, I'm going to shoot and kill Benny. Okay, so then we have Jeffrey, who shows up to Candace's house conveniently every time after War has already left. So Jeffrey shows up. Candace is like trying to calm Jeffrey down. They still don't know how his mom knows about the murder and all of this. And all of a sudden, while Jeffrey is waiting there, we see that his phone rings, and it's Justin. Justin is like, look, I'm trying to like get like a quick hookup. Jeffrey is like, no, I'm not doing that. Justin is like, meet me at the hotel in an hour. And Jeffrey's like, no. Justin's like, meet me there. And he was like, how you get my number to begin with? Well, he's 5'0". He's the popo, so of course he can get your number. Whatever the case, he was like, okay, I'll meet you there in 2 hours. I'm like, Jeffrey, you give in to everybody. Okay. So anyways, then Jeffrey has to go over to Veronica's house. He goes over to Veronica's house. She doesn't like what he wore. She said, no, you're going to have to dress up. You are here for a party. We're having a party later on. Here's the ring I bought from Melissa. You're going to present it to her. You guys are going to get married. And he said, are you just going to completely ignore the death that happened at your house? And then she said, oh, well, do you want to talk about the death that occurred at Candace's house? Basically insinuating like, okay, let me not bring up Quincy. Speaking of Quincy, where is Quita, his sister? Maybe she'll appear sometime soon. But whatever the case, so he's like, okay, what do you want me to do? She's like, are you scared of me? And he was like, of course I'm scared of you. Whatever the case, she goes upstairs, takes him to show him the nursery. Oh, and I hope that the baby is a boy, and I'm so excited, and my grandson, and then you guys are going to live here after she has the baby, at least for a year, all this stuff. This lady is nuts. Like, she has to have legit, like, crazy papers on. So anyways, so then all of a sudden it takes us back to the tow yard where we see Benny and Mitch. So Benny and Mitch are having a conversation, and Mitch is basically walking on eggshells trying to ask Benny what he thinks about War, and is there something going on between War and Candace. Benny is getting like really offended. He's like, no, nothing would ever happen between them. We're like brothers and sisters, and I trust him. And Mitch is like, I don't like that dude. And what if I told you I didn't want to go into business with him? And Benny was like, okay, well, deuces, because he's like family. Mitch is like, so you saying I'm not? And Benny's like, no. Like, Ward has been around for a very long time. He's helped me in so many situations. So I don't know what to tell you. And so Mitch was just about to come straight out and tell him what happened with War and Candace. But then he's interrupted by a phone call, and basically Benny is trying to get in touch with David Harrington so he can go off on him so that he can fix his phone lines. Benny, he's just stupid, and Mitch was unable to tell him what's really going on. So hopefully he don't die because of his stupidity. But whatever the case, then all of a sudden it jumps back to Jeffrey at the hotel with Justin, the police officer. So they've like gotten down with the get down. Then all of a sudden Jeffrey wants to like lay down and like pillow talk. Well, not Mitch. Justin, the police officer, is like, no, I'm not really doing all that. And Jeffrey was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm about to just be out then. And he's like, what's wrong with you? And Jeffrey looking like, as if you care. No, you know what? I'm done with this. And truth be told, Justin, police officer, he did like low-key care. He just didn't want to make it obvious. So Jeffrey is like, I'm done with this. I'm done with you. I'm done with people using me. Just don't call me again. Okay, so we shall see what happens with Jeffrey. Jeffrey is just real scorned this episode. So then all of a sudden, we see Jeffrey back at the house because he had to meet his mom there. She told him to wear a dark suit. Jeffrey shows up with a floral print blazer on, which I thought was hilarious because he's rubbing it in his mom's face. Like, I'm going to do the complete opposite of what you want me to do. And I know that this appears to be feminine to you, and this is going to drive you crazy. She gets pissed off at him, like slaps him in the face and everything. He is terrified of her. And I really think she's like she's pushing him. And I feel like Jeffrey's going to snap. Like, he's going to choke the lights out of his mama. Like, she's going to end up dying by the hands of Jeffrey. Watch what I tell you. Okay, so anyways, then Melissa's there. She makes them kiss, which was very strange. And she said, that don't look real to me. Do a real kiss. Do it like you mean it. So they had to kiss again, which was gross because why would... I don't even want to think about it. But anyway, so then she says, take her upstairs, show her her room and where she's going to be living and the baby and the nursery and all that because the lady's crazy. Okay, so anyways, then all of a sudden we see Mitch shows up at Candace's house. He shows up there because he wants to ask her questions about what's going on. Quite naturally, she's not giving him any information. She says, don't tell Benny, don't tell your brothers, but Mitch really wants to help. And so she gets close to him. She says, it's going to be fine. I'm working it all out. And then she kisses him. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I didn't expect that. I didn't even know that they were... like in that type of relationship, or maybe they had previous relations with one another and Benny doesn't know. Whatever the case, Mitch has a soft spot for her, and I'm kind of like, I kind of like the swirl right there. So I hope something happens with that. But whatever the case, she said, can you please move your car? I really have to go. She's on her way to the bank. And so he moves his car. But then, of course, since he has a little soft spot for Candace, he calls his brothers and he's like, hey, I'm going to set up some drugs in War's car. I need you to call the police that are over narcotics and have them bust him because we need to get rid of this problem. So I'm like, oh, okay, you got some power. Okay. So then, anyways, then Candace is at the bank. She's trying to read through the papers, of course, because she's studying to become a lawyer. Quite naturally, the banker doesn't want her to see the fine print and where she has to pay the money back. So he says, you need to hurry up and sign it or you're not getting the money today. So she says, okay. I'll sign. And she says, I need it in cash. And he says, that's not possible. And she's like basically begging at this point. So he says, I'll call around to some different banks and I'll make sure that we can get the money here, and then we'll have to count it. In the midst of all this, War is sending her text messages, pictures of Benny, and then a picture of the gun, which Benny doesn't realize is even pointed at him, basically letting her know your time is running out. So she's getting nervous. She has him talk to the banker so the banker can tell her, yeah, the money is almost done, and she has to just kind of play it off like they're in a relationship and they're going to Vegas. So anyway, then all of a sudden we see very important part of the episode. Hannah goes down to the jail. Now, Jim and Hannah, they get a room to talk to each other privately. And Jim is like a butthole, of course. Like, he's a horrible person. He's rude and evil and mean at all times. And especially to Hannah, he really does treat her like a little slave. So then all of a sudden, he's like, what do you want? What are you going to sue me for more money? Are you going to tell me, like, give me like this holy guilt trip? What do you want? What could you possibly have to tell me? She keeps telling him, stop, 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 stop. He's not listening. And then, so out of a sudden, out of nowhere, she has to be like, Wyatt died. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Jim Cryer, the guy that plays his character, he's like really a horrible actor. Like, he never does good. Like, he's always like a butthole, and it just doesn't even seem like he's really acting. It seems like that's how he is in real life. So whatever the case, this is the first time I ever really saw emotions on this actor, and his everything just dropped. Like, the life got sucked out of him. He did not expect those words to come out of her body, and then the screen just kind of dimmed away, and it was just kind of a perfect ending. So we shall see how this goes. He did a great job. Bravo for him. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Check me out.